Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Everybody have a chance to read the minutes of the last meeting?
I had just two things that I brought up to Lila today. One was actually she had CCKCF in there and actually spelling that out, so 20 years from now, 50 years from now, people are going through minutes that they know what that board is, if it ever changes. And the other one was on the sale of the tract to Mike Fruin and Cindy Ham. It said the north half of Lot 3, and we sold a tract of the north half of Lot 3. So just adding that tract in there that it wasn't the whole north half of Lot 3. So other than that, those were the only corrections that I had, and I would move to approve as corrected.
Okay. Been moved by Amanda, second by Cale. All in favor? Okay, they were approved. Consent agenda. We need permission for clerk to pay insurance at time of billing, to pay utilities at time of billing, to pay utility incentives before the 25th of the month, to pay theater bills when due, and to pay payment service network bills when due. Moved by David, second by Larry. All in favor? Approved. Is Cody coming tonight? Maybe not.
He's not.
Okay. Okay, old business. Okay, the CCKCF rental of the police department space. Some discussion on that. And I think a lot of you have seen the letter and so forth. And
Lauren has some input if she arrives.
That's what I was just thinking. Yes, Lauren was coming, wasn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can go ahead and jump down here and wait for Lauren to get here. Terry, why don't you talk about the Ben Chill concert and stuff?
Oh, that was quick. We're just planning on having the concert in the park again on Saturday, August 28th. And starting, the band will be the Eagles Tribute Band, The Long Run. Everybody seems to keep wanting to have them come back, and they want to come back. And they'll start at 8 o'clock. We're hoping to possibly have another pre-concert band like we did last year, like Deliberate or something like that. So, which would start at 6:30. And I don't. What else do you want to know? We appreciate everybody that helped us with it.
Looking to have games and stuff like at 6 o'clock for kids and adults. Kind of like we did last year. We'll have multiple vendors, all the vendors from last year coming back, plus it looks like one more. Vendors have tremendous turnout. I think having an extra vendor and or two will be a big help this year. We're looking into a couple things for the beer garden at this point. We don't have a solid commitment yet, but
yes, we do.
Oh, we do have commitment.
The Riverside.
Okay. And
so Cindy will be taking care of that and talking to the city council about that. Because I think she's doing the lumber also. Possibly.
Just looking to have the streets blocked off between the two parks and then on the east side of the band shell like we did last year.
And we'll have porta potties delivered again this year like we did. So that will be on the street on the east side of the band shell, which is what we've had in the past. And they will be delivered there and picked up there. Okay, JR?
Sure.
No problem, like we did last year.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, does anybody have any questions?
How'd you get in touch with them?
We're good friends with them.
Oh, what's the date? Trying to
August 28th.
to get in touch with them. We want to.
So as far as permit,
Oh, okay. Oh, no, with them.
if you wanted to go ahead and approve it, it would have to be pending insurance and the alcohol license and payment of that fee, which, yeah.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve this concert
I don't have
pending
to.
the insurance and waiving the fees that we normally do?
So moved.
And we also need the alcohol license. Did you say that?
No, I didn't say the alcohol license. That would be a separate deal with Cindy, won't it?
Well, it's part of their application, so she
On
needs to
their
provide
insurance,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll cover all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the fee, the vendor fee is usually what you waive, but not the fee for the other thing. That I think Lauren has said she's going to cover, but it's still.
Okay. Okay. Motion was by Amanda, second by Cale, all in favor? Approved. Larry stayed out of it.
I don't have.
Okay, we'll let Kelly talk about the farmer's market.
Hi, we're just applying for the farmer's market again to be held at the same location that we've had it before, on the east side of the, I don't know what you call these parks anymore, the Courthouse Park, where that shelter. I don't even know which one it is. I don't even know which shelter it is. But at that side where the like closest to the bathrooms, I guess, also. We don't need any streets blocked off. It would start the first weekend in June and go through the end of September, Saturday mornings from 9 to noon. The Farmers Market Board has purchased tables, so we supply tables and chairs for people. Occasionally, somebody will bring a tent, but we don't typically have any of those, so that's it, I guess. Unless you, I don't know what else.
Are you requesting the vendor fees be waived?
I don't know that we ever have to even talk about
No.
these. I love when you asked me that earlier, I was like, I don't know what that.
I'll move to approve.
And waive the fees.
And waive the fees,
Waive the
right,
fees.
okay. Been moved by Larry, second by David, and everybody in favor? Yep. Approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
I'm done, Ryan.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll go back up and talk about the rental to the CCKCF on the police department space. And so, I know there's concerns, and I wish there wasn't concerns, but there is. You guys want to present anything first?
I would say that probably, we're interested in the space. We had agreed that we were looking at rent. I think that the option that it wasn't going to be rent was something that came up later, and we totally agree with whatever is considered fair. I think the letters sort of explained from Darcy a little bit about what other communities are doing or how they figure into this. Take it for however you feel this collaboration could work out or can't work out. I think that we're good with whatever comes our direction tonight. I guess we're open to whatever discussion or questions. We reviewed the draft initially that didn't have the rent, and I think we were good with the draft that was presented.
I guess I'm a little confused as to why, I understand the financial part of things, but why is there such a conflict with all of this?
If you read the letter from the Greater Northwest Kansas Community Foundation, it discusses a lot of the community foundations having space in county space. The concern arises whether there is impropriety. Obviously, we're not having impropriety, and we would do everything, as would CCKCF, to not have any impropriety. The fact of the matter is that it is a county-wide foundation and we are a city entity, meaning that Bird City is also eligible for funds. The difference between, Rawlins County allowing Rawlins County Community Foundation, or Logan County being located in Logan County entities, is that is a county facility allowing a county foundation, whereas this is a county foundation who is wanting a relationship with a city. And while we recognize they do great things for the county in addition to the city, there is the concern that it changes the dynamic of, if they don't give us grants, are we going to cancel their lease? Are we using this as providing a benefit to them to entice them to provide us with more grants? Are we reaping some sort of benefit, or could it be inferred that we're reaping some sort of benefit? And the difference really comes, they talk about Bird City and the city of Bird City, which is really the only thing in here that my understanding is directly correlative, but that's the Bird City Century 2 Foundation, specifically for Bird City. I've expressed concern about it. I think in the emails Lila's had from the League, from Council for the League, there's been concern about it. The ultimate decision is up to the council. I mean, obviously, I think that without rent, there would be a breach of the public use, but I know that the city and the council and the city wouldn't want, to exercise any leverage over the foundation, and I'm sure the foundation wouldn't give preference to this. I mean, I'm sure we want to say we're all on the up and up, and I think by and large we all try our best. The problem is there's still that risk of impropriety, and it's
on the appearance.
on the appearance of it. And I mean, there is a risk of it. I mean, there is a risk that it turns into something. Whether or not that's likely, I can't say, but there is that risk there. Not only the appearance, but that if something goes awry, I don't know what that is. And
having read that letter, because I was in Dallas on last meeting, but having read that letter, is it mainly centered around whether they do grant writing for us or not, if that gives an appearance of...
On the share, but no, it was mostly pointing out the relationships that the community foundations have with their communities, and many of them have shared employees between the county and the foundations. That's one way that a lot of them have cooperated with each other. There wasn't any of these that were directly the same as what is being proposed. So.
Can I throw something out? I'm just curious what your take is on it. What if we leased that building to the county? Is that an option? To where it would take us out of the arrangement like you're talking about and kind of make it separate entities?
So we would lease the building to the county, and then the county would lease it to the foundation?
Just a suggestion. I didn't know what your take on something like that.
I think I let them use it for free.
Huh?
I think I let them use it for free.
We can't let anybody use anything for free, because it's the public purpose doctrine. What is to be gained by... What is the public purpose to be gained by allowing an asset to be used without compensation? That doesn't further a public purpose. So no, we can't let them use it for free. It's something to consider. It's not something I'm prepared to answer.
Oh, I get that. I was just curious what your opinion might be.
Well, I'm not... I see where you're going. I also don't know if it would be considered substance over form. I mean, the form is we're renting it to them, and then they're renting it, they're subleasing it to whoever they would like, but in order to make it not be, yes, you're allowed to in order to not make it, we're basically filing doing this so that CCKCF can rent this, we would have to allow the county to sublet that to whoever they wanted to. And if there's somebody who comes in and says, hey, we'll sublet that instead of CCKCF for twice what they're going to pay for it, then, I mean, if we let them sublet to whoever they want, they have that right to do that. And then, I mean, we're not, if the council wants to take that risk, and if the council wants to allow that, I'm sure CCKCF will go through, I know they have their process of rating grant applications, and they determine what it is, you know, how they're going to rank them and how they're going to be funded. That process is not going to change based on where they're located.
Or who our landlord is.
Right, or who they're...
Or leaser.
Right. I mean, if the council wants, there has to be rent. There has to be rent and some, either utilities included and that factored into the rent price or not. If the council wants to lease that space to the CCKCF, I see nothing immediately, based on the correspondence with the league, I see nothing preventing them from doing so. Lila, would you concur? I mean, they didn't say expressly don't do it, but there has to be rent.
And it has to be reasonable.
And it has to be reasonable rent. And it has to be, there is the risk of appearance of impropriety, and that is something that the council's going to have to decide whether they want the city to assume or not.
Well, and I don't think we're comfortable coming into a situation
Right.
that creates any of these issues. Although, just looking at this, we have an empty building.
Yes.
We have an empty office that is going to be empty.
But there's other empty buildings. I guess that was also brought up, the other empty buildings down on Main Street that
And
are
we do.
available.
We do have, and when we talk about a countywide foundation, I mean, there's been options that have presented itself to us. This was just too good to be true. And not to say, we weren't buying it necessarily on the no rent.
Yeah, it was more, it's an empty building.
It was like, well, and
Excellent location.
I do think there's a show of collaboration between, I mean, a
People
big
working with,
support,
yeah.
yes. And you're right, it isn't just St. Francis, it's both communities. But, yeah, if it's not going to work out, I think we're ready to go another direction too, so.
Well, each grant that comes before the foundation is weighed on its own merit. It's not where it comes from. That doesn't really make that much difference. It's whether it merits the money that we can give them so that they can do the project.
And to be an eligible recipient. So, as you know, many projects have come through the city of St. Francis that are not directly
Right.
your thumb on it. So, you know, there we go. If we're, you know, if that muddies the water for us and for us doing this, then I think we probably do need to go another direction. But we appreciate your thinking of us. We appreciate all the time Dara and Lila have put into this. Yeah, it was a good idea. And
Would that be big enough for there though to have your large meetings and stuff?
we would have made it big enough. We, you know,
Yeah.
we've already, you know, and the offices would have been perfect. I think we could have helped each other. We could have helped the city office along with the city office. You know, it would have been nice for that relationship. But you're right. There's other empty buildings. We're looking at for a part-time administrative assistant. So someone to help with the office, to be a part of this, and also it's gotten big, as you know, and as you know, the paperwork and everything that goes with this. But
It was mentioned that there's a rental space over in Bird City for this office also.
their incubator offices.
The what?
Incubator, they call it. It's the old bank building.
and they kind of help businesses get set up and going. They charge X amount, and that includes utilities and stuff. And then as the business grows, they pay a little bit more all the time. It's a good deal for a lot of those businesses that have gone in there.
If we hire when we hire an administrative assistant, it would be nice if they do live here that they would not have to drive to Bird City and back.
So I guess another question that should come up is if this won't work, is there anything that the city can do from our standpoint to help out without getting into the impropriety issues?
If entities contribute in equal part, how could that be done? The other city, the county? I don't know how you couldn't do something like that.
Are you taking, like CCDC? Is that what you're referring to? Or?
More or less, yeah, where everybody contributes a fair share to. I don't know how you couldn't potentially have something there. Everybody's contributing equally. How is that impropriety?
Like supporting the director, whoever they hire?
No,
that kind of-
location,
Oh.
be it rent or whatever. If entities contributing equally, that takes everything out again. The problem.
Well, but not every entity would, because...
You don't know, right. That's just
Yeah.
a collaboration thing.
Did you ever come up with a figure on, as far as the utilities, when the police were in there and when the police were out?
Oh, I don't have
There
that.
wasn't, you had sent that to me, let's see if I can find it.
So, it pretty much has to be 50-50, because even though the police department isn't over there, the utilities are still on. So we couldn't really take a comparison of when they were there, when they were not there, plus, if they were to rent it, they would have access to it 24/7. It would be their space. So what we did was we just took what the utilities were and split it in half, and I can't remember what it was now.
I'm trying to see, I'm sorry. CDL utility cost right here.
I want to say $200 a month, maybe, like $2,400 for the year, and that was for gas and electric.
Based on, it was the cost to account for the utility cost over there. When we were discussing you had said $200 a month would be reasonable for the utility cost, based on what had been provided previously. And that's when we were looking at, half of utilities for 2019 was $2,333.64. And so we had said $2,400 for the year for the utility cost. That's half of them.
So the obvious question becomes, if you split that based on population, and the city provided in kind their portion of that based on a population, the other was paid by the others, would that equalize it?
Well, I don't think we're requesting money from that is a part. But if that's what, are you saying for the perception of impropriety, if we had equal support?
Equal support per capita.
I don't know that, unlike that we're coming up, we're not asking for financial support.
I'm just curious if that's a way.
So I think we
I'm
have,
I'm just trying to think outside the box.
I know, how this could work. And it's definitely.
Because I think we all know this is vital to our community.
Absolutely, yes.
So do we know what fair rent would be for this space, market rent?
Well, we can tell you what the incubators, what they were talking about. And I believe they said for an office, and you would have the access to a room that would be, isn't that what they were telling us? Like a boardroom and restroom? Yes, and it wasn't it around between $200 and $250 a room? Which is minimal. Is that what you understand too?
And,
Okay.
yeah, and then they
Yes.
evaluated each year as.
Yes.
Does it go by square feet? Is that what we're basing it off of?
Well,
When you
yeah,
first
yes,
start, yeah.
yes.
Is that actually in a city building over there?
It's
The old
under,
bank.
The old bank.
yeah.
I mean,
Which, no, it's owned by Century Two. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, who has created this incubator
Mhm.
for businesses. And I don't know whether a municipality could have an incubator, could do that kind of deal. I don't know if that's something with community development or economic development. I don't know if that's something that would work. But again, we'd like to move a little faster. I think that's our dream here. Which kind of imploded on us, so now we're starting back over and trying to dig ourselves back out. And so we'd like to have something available at least by June 1st. We were shooting for May 1st. We also hope to have somebody hired, and that's our plan because, frankly, we're getting a grant for the administrative assistant and to start this and to get going, and everything is budgeted as a May 1st.
Got to hit the ground running.
Mhm. Well, it's been in process, but
Sure.
yeah.
So why can't we just do market rent, half utilities, and be done with it? And what's the problem with that, I guess?
I wouldn't have a problem with 200 rent, 200 utilities.
Whatever the market calls for, and then half utilities. I don't see why there's trouble with that. I don't know.
If that's what the council wants to do, the main thing, as we've discussed, there can't be not rent, we're past that. It's just that concern of appearance of impropriety, and if the council is not concerned about that appearance, and CCKCF is not concerned because of the grant approval process, and the city, understanding their agreement and not not abusing their authority in the position of lessor. If the council's agreeable to doing that, as long as we have what we would deem to be a fair market rent, and the cost and half the cost of utilities or whatever it is, if we want to budget that collectively and say 400, or if we just want to say half utilities, that way in the event there is some issue like the spike in utilities or anything else, we say, then we say half utilities and 200, if 200 is your proposal, then 200 or 250 or whatever fair market is. That, as long as there is rent paid, I don't know that there's the violation of that public purpose doctrine.
Do you think it takes the impropriety out of the situation?
I don't know that it takes, so there's two different aspects that I have to look at here. One is the city fulfilling the public purpose doctrine that it is beholden to? And two, is the city creating any issues when that's any issues or appearance of any issues? And that's where the impropriety falls. I think we've taken away the public purpose doctrine by discussing the rent. There is the concern, there was the concern raised for the appearance of impropriety. That is a risk that if the city is willing to say, we don't think there is, we understand, like if someone comes to us and says, hey, you were favored because of this, maybe we put an indemnification provision on CCKCF and we say, if someone comes to us and accuses us of we got this grant because we're their landlord, CCKCF has to indemnify and explain to the individual making such accusation why this grant was funded over whatever grant they're complaining wasn't funded. I mean,
that would be more on us though than you.
Right, but I mean, if they accuse the city, then that would be, it would basically just be CCKCF will indemnify the city by saying, no, we are, no, this is why. We'll just say, hey, someone complained to us, and then CCKCF would explain to that, would have the responsibility of explaining to that individual what information was debated and why one grant was funded over the other. Is that, I mean, is that,
I think we
is that something that, is that?
I think that there's that whole confidentiality, but I think we can agree that we would be, open to,
Right.
to supporting our,
Mhm.
how grants are,
Can we release the back jail stuff to the county?
No, that was part of the police agreement, I think, that they should have access to that jail to the cell.
So, are you going to make a motion, or?
Yes, let's charge fair market rent, whatever it is, 200, 250, I don't know. I guess someone can give those numbers, right?
You need to find that out before we finalize it.
Well, probably, but we can always agree to something, right?
They kind of need to know.
Well, I mean,
Well, yeah, but
we have a meeting the 26th. I realize it's short.
well, I guess
But you're applying for a grant to cover?
we already have.
Oh, you
We
have.
already, yes, so that's why our process
Okay.
is rolling. So, but as administrative assistant, but what kind of fell into it is we really wanted we wanted this, place, yes. We wanted this store.
If this would come together and you're comfortable with the whole situation?
What Cal said?
Yeah.
Yes, the 200 and 250. Is that what, I'm not sure where you planned it.
yeah, I don't know what the actual market value is.
I don't know.
That's what we need to find out.
I'd have to, I don't know. I didn't call any of the other places. I mean, you
Square
wouldn't
footage
know.
of the building, I'm going to say, is it comparable to what we're looking at here?
I would say that the whole area is probably, this is probably larger because this is two offices and not really a boardroom. But remember, that's shared too. Some of that, you have your own office. So.
But you're also not going to be open every day, right?
No, but it will only be which is 20 hours a week. So that is something, one of our big deals is that we hope that we set a time, and that is the time unless it's a holiday that we're there. We're not going to be Monday mornings and Friday afternoons and maybe this week. So we don't know what that time is right now. It's 20 hours a week, but as soon as we hire an administrative assistant, then we will sit down and determine what those hours, and they'll be posted.
But they would still have, it would be their space 24/7
So why don't
regardless.
we just do 225? Split the difference. Get this thing rolling.
Thank you, Cal.
And then utilities, what did you say average was?
I think we need to do half, because if there's that issue with the spike in utilities, or if there's an issue with an increase and we've accounted for less than that, then there is some argument that, so I think we just need to do half. They pay half the utilities.
Whatever half is.
Right.
Well, it should be I mean, is that how you want to do it? I feel like it should be a set.
You would probably
Set
like it to
price.
be just a set
We would
fee.
need to know for our own,
Right.
and trying to keep, because, everything runs.
What if we set a certain fee, say $200 for utilities, and we'll review it in 6 months? Review it every 6 months, and if we have to up it a little bit, we have to up it a little bit, but as long as we're staying in that budget.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Well, and could we just say that it's $400 or $450 at least every month? And then that would help us to take that instead of saying, well, we're going
Sure.
we don't know.
Right.
We don't know. Because besides this, we're going to be trying to get our office under us, which will be additional. And we don't know where the money is.
Market rent is, I mean, the 250 is Birch City, do we know, like, is there a difference between there and here?
I don't know if we can get pictures. I don't.
Well, I'm just saying, the figures are Birch City area, and I don't know if other rental space available in St. Francis is more than that. You know what I'm saying? Just if we're talking fair market, what is fair market commercial space renting for in St. Francis?
You know what would be a good inquiry with this if they're willing to tell us would be what the county attorney's rent used to be for when Nicole Romine, because Leslie Grimes was there for a bit before she moved into the county office, and she's I know she had said at one point she was going to be able to save the county that rent money by being in the courthouse rather than there. And I think that that would be a relatively comparable space. So I will email Leslie Vines and see if she would be willing to disclose that information. I would think that she would, because it would be county. I would think that would be open record. I would think what they paid for it would be open record. So
Where is it?
it's Josh Moberly's spot used to be Nicole Romine's office as the county attorney. I believe the area is size-wise comparable to that area. There was a reception area and then a workspace elsewhere with some files in another area down a hallway. So I think and so, I would think that what the county paid for county attorney, that area, would be, that I think that would be comparable to this. So if we want to find out what that was, we can, I guess if we want to name whatever they were paying for that is what market rent is. We make the motion to approve the lease for $200 a month for utilities, which is to be reviewed annually, and plus whatever market rent was for that. We will present that I will put that in the agreement that you reviewed and didn't have any other issue with. Is that correct?
Well, we looked at the draft.
Right.
These numbers were not.
Right. But
Yes.
outside of rent, there were no other issues with the draft. Is that correct?
We were okay with the rest of it. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so, if we determine that would be comparable to this facility, what that was for market rent would be what this is. We can put that in, we can present it to CCKCF if they deem that to be an acceptable cost. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was 200, I don't know if it was 700. I have no idea what it was. But that seems to be comparable. We'll put it in. We'll present it to CCKCF. If they're interested, if it's a rate agreeable to them, they will sign it. If it's not a rate agreeable to them, they don't have to take it. But then at least we have determined this would be comparable and therefore fair market rent. And if we want to adjust up or down based on whether the space is larger or not, I guess we could do that at the next meeting. But if the rent was $300, that might be an acceptable amount to CCKCF. I'm not sure where you're...
700 sounds a little...
Well, that's right. But that's what I'm saying. If it was 200 to 300, that might be agreeable to you. If it's 700, obviously that's not going to be. But us putting that in the contract and presenting it to you is not going to be, does not obligate you to that contract, but just so that way we can get the council approval for something so it could be signed. I think we can make a motion to use whatever the figure was as fair market value for this, absent negotiations. We can use that for this. Find out what it was, put it in the agreement, present it to CCKCF. It is then up to CCKCF as to whether or not they want to sign that agreement based on the price of whatever that was rented to the county plus $200 a month for utilities. And then if they want to sign it and move forward with it, they can get in by March 1st, May 1st. If they don't want to sign it, then we know where we're at, and we have done our due diligence of this is fair market value. We can't rent it for less than fair market value. This is where we're sitting. I think that protects the city adequately. I think that gives CCKCF the option to move promptly if they would like to, because we will put that in, and we'll have already agreed to that lease if CCKCF agrees to the price. Is that
Our next meeting is the 26th, correct?
Correct.
And so you're needing to kind of have this ball rolling ahead of
I
that.
don't know. We will have, that was our grant, but I don't think that has anything to do with what you guys are deciding.
Carla,
We can figure it
can we ask if you guys looked at other options?
Well, we had already started the dream, and so we had looked at others.
Can you share any kind of figures with us?
No, we didn't have, well, I guess, Tom, tell them about the
I spoke to the St. Francis Equity manager, and he said his office, he would take it to the board, and he said as long as you would pay utilities, we would be more than happy to be part of the community and house our administrative assistant. And I don't know what utilities are, but
Well, and as we talked earlier, then there was also brought up about the incubator. So,
we just like this location a lot better. I talked to the ones that were across the street, well, next to the what? Well, that was $300 a month, is what I understood there. But the folks moved out and went into the gun shop. But they said the utilities on that are so terribly high that that's why they moved out of there. Which one was $300 a month?
Does that include utilities?
That's all, Kelly Fruin called them for me. Well, he said the utilities were so high, that's why they moved out, so I would
Well,
guess.
that's not, that was not a
I would,
That's the vote, the utilities were so high.
I would assume board, because that's just kind of like the incubator in Byrd, right? You get an office space, you don't have like a...
dedicated.
The gate board was $300. That's what I understood from Kelly Fruin, they called it. The location here would be so much better for us for the visibility of our organization. Yeah.
I think we all agree with that. It would be an asset for both of us. But trying to get around everything that goes with it, that's a little more complicated.
Well, you're looking to be moved in by May.
No, that's when our budgeting on our grant starts. If we have to move back, which, I mean, here we are.
Well,
April,
we're
so-
April 12th. I mean, we could make, the space becomes available to you. You don't necessarily have to move in. I mean, technically, we could prospectively make that space available to you May 1st because we have another meeting before then. I know we want to get the ball rolling, and if that is your preferred location, perhaps rather we reach out to, if Gabe Bourne was 300, is that space, I haven't seen that space, is that comparable to the?
Which one was Gabe?
This is
Shay's office.
is it the whole office?
I don't think it is.
Oh, it's just
I think this is far bigger than what you would get for 300 down there.
Farm Bureau rents the office.
That runs for 300 also?
I say that in the back room gets presented by somebody else.
But the jail is, how large is the jail? How much of the space is the jail occupies?
It's not
Have you
that
not
big.
been
The
over
jail
there?
part isn't that big.
Yeah, and it would be,
Could we
You'll look into that.
for 6 months, and get acclimated and revisit it in 6 months?
That'd be nice to just have a figure and be going with it, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're going to do that for the budget stuff.
Yeah.
I understand what Lauren's saying. My concern a little bit is that if we get one rent deal that she's talking about, is that going to skew this thing? Or they've already said they've looked at 2 other places that are about 300. I just want to make sure that we don't have one place that can be 700 or 800, and that's what we're making a decision on. I don't think that's right. I understand it, but I don't think it's right.
Well, why don't we find out what that was?
Okay.
We'll correspond with I'll correspond with CCKCF, see if there's a price point at where they're
we can afford it.
where they're comfortable. Well, where they're comfortable. I mean, we don't want to be using your whole grant for that. I mean, there has to be. Well, there has to be some. I mean, as a business decision, there has to be some comfortability. You know, I mean, if there's a space available for $300, a space available for $700, is the $700 a month space really that much more advantageous than the $300 a month space?
Well, and remember, we thought this was a fit well for both. I mean, it's a good fit for us, but I think that it's a good fit for both entities.
And I think the city thinks it is, but we also, I mean, the city is obligated by the public purpose doctrine, and we have been explicitly advised by the attorneys for the Kansas League of Municipalities that to rent it for less than fair market rent would be a violation of that public purpose doctrine. Now, I don't know, I mean, that space that Leslie Vines rented might be bigger. She might come back and say it was they might come back and say that was only $300. If that space rented for $300, there's no reason that space can't rent for $300. But I don't know.
It's hard to compare apples to apples.
It is.
Situations.
Yeah, because it really is different, and so I would.
As is the nonprofit and the
for-profit,
as
yes.
is the municipality and the county. We've got a whole cumbersome deal.
Currently, it's renting for $500 with utilities.
500 including utilities. Okay, so 300. So would CCKCF and the board be comfortable with 300 rent, 200 for utilities, for a total of 500 rent? Because that 500 includes utilities, so it would be the same for this space. That space and this space to be comparable, located on Main Street in St. Francis, with the visibility to allocating half.
Again, basing it on one.
Well, we have Gayborn at 300.
Is that for that whole space that he has?
We have Gayborn at 300. We have that one at whole building for 300 plus. I mean, for 500 for utilities. We've accounted for 200 a month in utilities. That puts that at 300. I mean, we now have 2 properties there.
Farm Bureau's 300.
Farm Bureau's 300. I mean,
Plus utilities.
we now have 3 that are basically 300 plus utilities. So, I mean, I would think that.
I'll make a motion we do it for 500 and get this rolling.
I second.
So, is that going to work?
We have to go back to the board.
Well, but you
But we would have something to take, and we appreciate that.
No, plus utilities.
Plus utilities.
It's 300 for the rent and 200 for utilities, so it's a $500 flat rent.
And then we would also have our own on top of that, right? Because that wouldn't include any internet or phone lines or, what about insurance?
You would need to have renters.
You would need renter's insurance, and Kelly had said something about us needing to have a landlord rider or endorsement, but that shouldn't cost too much to put that into place on our policy. So you would just need to have a renter's insurance
Which we
policy.
wouldn't own a lot. I mean, it's still your desk and your, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, as far as renter's insurance, we're global right now, so I guess that would be something we'd have to take into consideration too.
Because do they have to have renter's insurance? Because they can gamble and not do it.
I think that was
a requirement. We had.
pretty sure Kelly said that they would need to have their renter's insurance, and the endorsement was he was looking into that, whether or not we absolutely had to have that endorsement on our policy, but he thought we did. But he didn't think it would cost very much.
Gotcha.
Okay, you can require.
Insurance in addition to what the city has?
I think they have to have their, and I'll check with Kelly again on this, but I feel like he said they needed to have their own liability insurance to cover their customers coming into that space if they got injured. It would be under your liability, not the city's liability.
Which that may go back to Greater Northwest Kansas at that point. We'd have to check and see how that, because we're an affiliate.
Mm-hmm.
Greater Northwest Kansas, and that's how everything is.
Are you covered under their insurance for?
Our legal, or that, board, that all comes from Greater Northwest Kansas, correct, Lauren?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, well, the motion was made by Cale, second by David, all in favor?
I have to abstain.
Everybody in favor? Okay, we'll write that up that way. You look at,
Were you in favor?
yeah, we'll write it up that way. You can look at it, see if it's going to work for you. Hope it does. I agree with Tom. It'd be nice whoever you hire could stay here, be local. I agree with that. So, see what we can do with it.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Sorry, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, next is a Van Shell rental application for a fifth grade promotion party.
They are asking us to waive the rental fee, and I don't know, did you get my email?
I
back?
did. I don't know that we would be as equally responsible as we were not the one doing it, but we are acquiescing to it. So it's not a public. Is it open to the public?
No, it's a private party. So the question came up about the movie. They wanted to do a movie in the band shell. And the question came up, as we've discussed before, that you can't show movies in public. That's a copyright, against copyright law. I don't think, Larry, you were here on the council when we had this whole conversation, and maybe none of you, except for Cal and Amanda, but basically it's against copyright law to publicly show a movie. And the only concern here is it's a private party, but it's in a public space. So, I don't know.
Seems gray enough. Seems very gray. They're not charging anything, right?
That's not relevant because it's still the theory on it. So the way copyright law works, a very brief overview, is you may rent or watch a movie for yourself or your family. If you have people come over and you have rented this movie or purchased the movie or whatever, you may show it to your group of friends because that is still considered a private viewing. You may not, even if you are not charging for it, show the movie for the public, because then what is happening is the theory behind it is that is preventing anyone who comes to see the movie from purchasing or renting or otherwise paying to see that movie. So showing it to the public for the public violates copyright laws. It is not against copyright law to rent a movie and show it to, whoever you have over. The issue in this matter is that they are not showing it for the public, but they are showing it in public, and the public could come and watch. There's not going to be a bouncer at the 5th grade graduation ceremony. So we're in a very gray area.
But it's still kind of a private event. I mean,
It is a private event. It's just for the 5th grade kids and
it
their
happens to
sponsors.
be outdoors.
Consider the risk.
Really?
I am,
Sorry,
I know. Well, and here's the deal, is I was talking to Lila about something else, and it is unfortunately my job to say, hey, here's all the things that could go wrong. And as I am not a decision-making individual, here's all the things that could go wrong. Do you want to deal with that?
There's been movies showed there before.
And
They
so,
did it several times.
So our real responsibility is to rent it, and that's really it. What they do with it is up to the organizer, wouldn't it be?
Well, you're approving, when you approve it, you're approving what
Proving what they're doing.
they're going to do,
what they're
slip and
doing.
slide, dodgeball, water balloons, fun stuff
do they
like that,
have an
water
indemnity?
games.
Does this have an indemnity?
What kind of slip and slide?
We face the same thing in our church. short
All
movies
things
in our
against,
church.
yeah.
What we're discussing things with CCL.
It's A.
If the movie you're showing is 10, 15, 20 years old, the money-making prospects of that children public is over.
But it's still not in the public
it's
domain.
Right, I know. But the whole essence of it, because they don't want you taking what could be a public going to a theater and making money off of it.
But also rental or purchase or subscription, I mean, all of those still.
Well, it does say movie in the park. We don't know what they're playing, so it's not up to us. What if they're playing a non-copyrighted movie? We don't know.
We had this conversation, Amanda and I.
Or a movie that's considered
Home movies are the kids.
public.
Home movies of the kids, yeah.
Could be movies of the kids. Could be who knows what.
That's just embarrassing. Who gets to be the master? Okay, you can do this.
Well, who was the group that was putting up a blow-up deal there, and they was doing that every Sunday night?
Well, that was Penny.
Penny.
Yeah,
Penny was
that
doing that.
Penny. And they did that several times.
Advice taken, move on.
It's been down at the pool a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's where the question came, and we can't do it at
Right.
the city can't do it anymore.
Right.
But it's, so they're just asking to, for you guys to waive the rental fee, and it's on May 15th from 1 to 10.
They do want the street blocked off, is that included?
Block off the street between the two parks for
That's May
safety
10th?
on May 15th from 1 to 10.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the 5th grade application
And,
as is,
and waive the fees.
and waive the fees? After the discussion.
What kind of party is it?
Fifth grade promotion.
5th grade promotion.
Oh, the squatting house.
Is that the only real issue, is the movie theater?
I would also hazard that there's the dangers of the slip and slide.
I did check in with Kelly Farron, and he said that's not an issue. So that was,
Is that where they just put the deal on the ground
Yeah.
and water and they just
Mhm.
run and slide? It's nothing
Yeah.
that blows up and you
No.
come down it.
What this is? If they pay the $75 fee, or I'm just figuring out hypothetically, but if that fee was paid, it still has no weight on what you're talking about, right? I mean, because what you're talking about is still a whole different matter.
Right.
Right. So, that's,
Because they're not paying us to license it.
Right,
I mean,
right.
that's,
Well, still, we're not in the business of figuring out what they're playing, whether or not what it is okay. It's not up to us. It's up to who's putting it on. We're just here to let them rent the park and waive the fee. That's what it seems like to me.
Does it come back on, Lauren, on that, under A, applicant will hold the city of St. Francis harmless from and defend any and all claims against the city? with anything with neighbor
It does, I mean, yes.
There it is. There
I
it
mean,
is.
I guess, here's I would caveat that it should be, perhaps we make a motion that this is approved with the explanation to them that there are copyright laws regarding movies in public places, and if they elect to proceed as stated of the application, they are assuming any and all risks, and that the city of St. Francis, they will be responsible for indemnifying and holding harmless the city of St. Francis from any claims arising. Basically, let them know that we're approving this, but by doing this,
I'll make a motion on that.
Second? Okay, it's been moved by David, second by Cale, all in favor? Approved.
Okay. Do you want me to write something along the lines regarding their approval?
Yeah, I mean, you can. I've got a document that I can give them that explains the copyright laws that we've given people before.
That's fine. Yeah, I would just do that and explain to them that they are, if they do this and there's an issue,
That'll work.
it's 100% on them and is not coming back on the city.
The other thing is we want to keep encouraging people to use the book.
I agree.
Yeah, that's up to them, yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, I don't know what movie they're showing. I don't know if it's copyrighted. I don't know if they want to reach out and maybe get I don't know what it costs to.
They can get a license for it.
They can get a license for it. Maybe they say, oh, we didn't realize.
Or why ask and just realize they're covered by that and hold harmless.
We'll leave it up to them.
Yeah. I don't think we should ask. But I do think we need to say,
This is your
we are approving your application. However, you need to be aware this may raise an issue with copyright laws. You are indemnifying us. If you run afoul of the copyright laws, you are on your own.
That works.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item is the trash waiver application from Althea Lowell.
It's a renewal.
Building they purchased.
Yeah, over there on 315 South College. It's a renewal. They had it last year. They just use it for storage.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Larry, second by Amanda, all in favor? Approved. Okay, next item is the CDBG drawdown request.
So this is drawdown number 3. The food pantry has submitted receipts for reimbursement, and a request for payment of CDBG funds needs to be made. So I would ask for a motion to approve drawdown number 3 for the 20-CV-116 project in the amount of $4,083.89, and this does require a roll call vote.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Amanda, second by Cale. Okay, David? Cale?
Yes.
Amanda? Derek?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Okay. Dan, you're up.
Okay. I'd like to ask for permission to spend $6,000 on bunker gear for 2021. We just did it for 2020. It should be locked in at that price from last year. If not, I'll be back, but they told me it was locked in for the next year.
That's in the budget and everything, isn't it? So it should be.
Equipment expense.
Right. So, everybody in agreement with that?
So moved.
Yeah. So,
Moved by Amanda.
moved by Amanda, second by Derek, all in favor? Yep.
The only other part, I need about 5 minutes of executive session for personnel.
Do we want to wait for Cal?
Should.
We'll end up doing that at the end anyway, usually.
Is that everybody in here? Everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Except for she needs to leave, so.
Oh, okay.
So, I
Well,
mean,
we're going to have more than one executive sessions.
okay, well, can we,
We could condense them right now.
What's that?
Just do one after the other
Yeah.
now.
do we, yeah, I mean, I guess, is there anything else we could move on to? We have a visitor, is there another?
Let's see what, Patty, did you come for a reason?
Well, this is the first time I've ever been here, so I wasn't sure the procedure. And just some issues that I'd like to bring to the commissioners and I have questions on. And if I could just go through my list and then discuss it. The things I was wondering about are goals for the commissioners, their timelines, and of course, potholes.
Are you talking to commissioners or are you talking to council?
Oh, I'm sorry, council, city council, sorry. The grid system and sewer and water, and basically on the grid system and sewer and water, there are people that have bare electrical lines, and there are people that have to replace appliances and have electrical work done in their homes because of surges, outlet outages, and so forth. And what is the timeline on getting grid systems improved, updated? What's the timeline on getting these potholes repaired, streets repaired? Every street in the town has potholes. People are having car repairs done because of the potholes. What is the status of our water lines? Are they good, bad? Do they need to be replaced? The same with sewer lines. Are they good, bad, need to be replaced? And basically, timelines.
Well, basically, I think most of our water and sewer lines are in pretty fair shape.
Correct. Mostly, we did a big sewer project in 2003 where all the lines were gone through Cameron and a new sewer system put in. So the sewer system could be considered updated. It's general maintenance on that.
Okay.
Water would be in the same category with it just being aged, of course, as is with anything with infrastructure. As far as the electric, we are on schedule again this year to do future maintenance. We did some last year and the 2 years before that. That is ongoing as well, rebuilding of lines. In reference to surges on things, that's a little bit skewed. Those things happen for different reasons within even households. That is a home insurance thing. We have no more issues with that than any other community. It's something that comes up often, but that is a homeowner's insurance item as far as surges and appliances. Was that it? There was something else.
Potholes.
Oh, potholes. Well, it's obvious that's an ongoing forever. We're doing a very large-scale project this year to cover a certain amount of area. I think we got a $600,000 grant, and the city's putting up $800,000. So we're getting started into some large-scale projects on that.
Okay, because the concern with me and other people is that we're paying a fairly large sales tax. And, you know, right now we see no improvement on our street systems.
So on streets, we can, at time of year for repairing, they're usually bad for a period of time. As far as timeline coming into it, that's weather.
Yeah,
Mostly
I know
heat.
winter you can't do anything.
Sure.
Because there's, you know, freeze involved, and it just
But
makes
they
it
were
worse.
patching holes last week.
We have. When it gets warm enough, we try to, because the worst, we have to try to do something with them, even if it's too early on the stuff. So.
And the streets that we're replacing and doing, we're not sure the exact date.
July is what, and I've got that confirmed back from the engineer.
Yeah.
And COVID moved us back quite a bit, too.
A lot. And I'm trying to move that date up. I think that seems late for that size of a project, too.
Yeah.
But
That's gonna take
I
a
haven't
long
heard back from
time.
Miller and Associates on that. But generally,
How many blocks is that we're doing on that grant?
someone else would have looked at it. I don't know if I have that. Percentage-wise, it's very small. That's
Yeah,
one of the issues with streets is the amount of money required to do a very small area. It takes a lot of money.
Okay.
That's one of those that I think a lot, if not all, small communities deal with. You have a lot more streets to repair than you have money to repair it.
And that's one reason why the sales tax was raised, was because anybody that comes into town, anybody in the area is going to pay sales tax. Otherwise, was going to have to raise either property taxes or the mill levy, was going to have to raise something to get it done. And so we went sales tax because if somebody comes from Idalia in, they're helping us out. And so that's the reason we went that way. And it seems awfully high, but you go a lot of other places and it's the same price. It's around 9% in a lot of places now.
Well, it should be noted that the city gets 1% of the sales tax. Right? So the city's only 1% of it.
Okay.
Of the sales tax.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, the state gets 6.3. The county gets, 6.5. The county gets 2, and then we get 1. That's how it's broken down.
Okay.
So, yeah, we don't get much.
Is it a half?
What?
Sales tax is 9.
It's
Doesn't the
9.5.
city get, it's 9.5?
9.5.
Yeah, it's 9.5. I said 9 a little bit ago, but a lot of places you go, you're around 9% almost everywhere anymore.
So the scary part about that is our 1.2, it's 1.2 million. I said 800,000. It's actually going to be 600 based on the bid. But that's only 13 blocks. And I mean, it's almost 100,000 by the time you do curb gutter and regrading and stuff. So therein lies which ones you pick and how far you go. And which ones will get fund is the other thing.
Right.
So does that answer your questions?
Yeah, because I've noticed, I live between Benton and Scott, and Benton is very bad.
Yes. And Benton is on.
Yeah,
yes,
Benton's on it. From Spencer, Benton, clear down past the grocery store, right?
Yeah. It goes all the way, I think, 2 blocks north of the grocery store on Benton.
So, it's going to cover basically 4 blocks there. That'll all be redone this summer. Late summer, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And last year you got a good start on electrical, replacing electrical poles and lines and.
That was actually the third year of
Third
it.
year?
Because we had Prairie Land do the previous work.
Yeah, we went out to the.
We've
Yes.
purchased more supplies out there and
Yes. Yep, and that's
set aside
ongoing.
more money to do that.
Just takes so much money that we have to do it in steps.
Okay. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
for
very much.
coming.
Okay. And we'll stop here in a second, and then we'll go into the executive sessions, and then go back to the other stuff. What a crowd.
Do we need a motion? We will need a motion.
Yeah.
How many minutes, Dan?
How-
5?
And we need another executive session regarding following that. So we want to go in and then come out and then go in and then come out?
Yeah, because we will have to record when we come out, we have to record.
Okay,
No
that's
action
fine.
taken or whatever.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for 5 minutes to resume at 8:20 for
Non-elected
non-elected
personnel?
personnel for
Hiring.
hiring. Okay. With all those present, I guess? Yeah.
Do you need, you want everybody in here?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, made motion by Amanda, second by Cale. All in favor?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I guess there's no motion really to do anything here other than let our chief proceed with handling this situation.
That's
all we got.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Dan.
you.
And what you guys, were you going to be talking about the library? Is that what? Okay, yeah. Yeah,
Is it going to be a legal?
I think it's going to be subject to, it's going to be discussion subject to attorney-client privilege, advice of counsel subject to attorney-client privilege. I don't know what what number that is on there. I think it's 2.
Oh, it's okay.
But it's advice, it's discussion subject to attorney-client privilege.
Okay, so they-
I don't know how long we need.
Mm.
I'm going to say probably no less than 10. No less than 10. I don't know if how much longer than that we need to go.
Hopefully 10 would do it.
Okay. I mean, if not, we can come out and go back in, but we need to.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I hear a motion to on this.
How about,
Been moved by David,
Okay.
second by Cale.
Coming out at what time?
10 minutes would be what, 9:30?
8:32.
9:32, somewhere.
8:32.
Or 8:32, yeah, 9:32.
You're
Oh,
not
no.
going in that long.
Okay. So we need another motion to go back in.
We're out. No decisions have been rendered, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
You think you have 10 minutes?
yeah,
Okay. I'll make a motion to go back into executive session for 10 minutes to resume at
8:42.
8:42 for non-elected personnel
No, for
attorney.
conversations privileged by attorney-client privilege. Protected by attorney-client privilege.
Second by Cale. All in favor? And, okay, good.
We are out at 8:42, and there have been no decisions rendered in the meeting. We need additional time. I think 5 minutes would be appropriate. Does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, moved by David, second by Cale, all in favor?
Come out at 8:47.
8:47.
8:47, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, well, you contact Kelly and see if she's got an email so that she can get it to Lauren, and then that way Lauren knows what to
Yeah.
send
Okay.
forward. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And I will look for that on their meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Attorney report, so you can go.
Okay. Attorney report. I need to jump kind of into the streets project in my attorney report. I was reviewing the contract, and half of the contract is missing. They have provisions throughout, in accordance with the general provisions, paragraph 14.13, in addition to the special conditions, paragraph 4.2, or whatever it is. Those documents aren't attached to the contract. So I don't know what they say. There's apparently 42 pages of general provisions that they said was attached to the contract. It's not. There's 10 pages of special considerations or special provisions, pages 1 through 7, S 1 through 7 and SC 1 through 3, 10 pages. I don't have those. They have addenda, which is plural, numbers, plural, 1, and then nothing else. They don't explain what that is. They have exhibit, and then they have exhibits, plural, and then they have certificate of insurance, which is singular, but then they have other things that are not that labeled that I think they printed out from something else. There's just half of the documents are missing. And so I called Lila today to ask if I had contact information for the contractor, and she said the contract came from Miller and Associates, and she had given me that contact information, and I had commenced working on, a correspondence to them, but I haven't finished it yet. My goal is to send it out tomorrow. just stating, I need, one, a full contract, and two, you to put it in order. None of the exhibits, none of the documents that they said were attached to the contracts, the ones that were there, weren't labeled, weren't in the order they said they were in the contract, and it, to be frank, just kind of looks a mess. And so I'm going to reach out to Miller and Associates, and I'm going to say, one, we're missing these provisions. Two, you need to send me the attachments in the order that you list them in the contract, because that's where we look for them. I mean, there's no point labeling it 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4 if you're just going to put it in there however you want. Otherwise, it just needs to be in there, and it needs to be labeled. So as far as the streets project go, you said they're looking at a start date of July. Okay, so I mean, we're a ways out. I know we were going to try and see if they could start sooner, but I mean, we'll get with them and see if they can't get it back to me by the next meeting. I didn't see anything immediately concerning in the documents that I read, but there's about 75 to 80 pages of documents missing, so I can't say as to whether it's concerning or not. It has a signature page for city attorney at the back saying that I've read it and I approve it, and I'm not signing it. I'm not signing it. So, yeah, I will reach out to Miller and Associates. I hope tomorrow, if not this week. But I will reach out to them, and we will go from there as to how to proceed.
Okay.
I don't think that I have anything else. We are looking for that document in Word for you. There's a fine schedule that we're amending that it will be very helpful to Lila if we have it in Word rather than having Lila have to type it up. And we are looking, but we are looking intermittently. The extension deadline only was for individuals, not for corporations or fiduciary returns. So only individual returns were extended, and so that May 17th didn't extend. Our other entities that are due 4/15, and so we're looking, but we're not able to at the immediate moment devote someone sit down and go through this and see if you can find it, which I'm hoping that they will be. We should have someone next week who will be able to devote to that, but as of now, we have not found it.
Okay.
But we've only been able to look intermittently. So, yes, that is going to be a project for one of the ladies in my office to see if they can't find that. Other than that, I don't know that I have. We've discussed moving municipal court in June to the 24th. We had previously moved it.
Yeah, but after I sent that email out, I do have a conflict on the 24th, but I think it's whatever. I can be either one, but it's been moved in June. Municipal court's a little busier this year than it was last year, of course.
It is. And we have several, items that we've been working on. We're trying to clean up some old cases that have fallen somewhat off the radar. 3, 4, 5-year-old cases.
Yeah.
It's looking like that have been
put
on payment plans that paid and then stopped paying and.
What's the cost to benefit ratio?
Yeah.
Right. That's in municipal court with Judge Keller last time she had said, she had made a comment about, this wasn't getting done, and that as I am prosecution, it's my job to make sure that this is getting done. It's up to me. It's not up to her. She's like, if you want to pursue this, she's like, that's your thing to pursue. You are the prosecutor. You are, it's your responsibility to pursue that. If if you're going to pursue that further. And I responded to her and let her know that there has to be something of a cost-benefit analysis, because it costs the city for me to do work.
Right.
As I am not staff, I am not an employee, I am under contract as counsel who bills for my time. And I said to her, I have a duty to the city, not only to prosecute, but also to be conscious of whether or not this is a cost benefit, to do a cost benefit analysis. I mean, if I spent $800 of time going after $200 of fines, that's not a reasonable. I mean, that's not reasonable. If I spend 20 minutes going after $200 and nothing comes of it, then we look at it and say, are we going to spend more time? There is a cost-benefit analysis that I am forced to do. Obviously, we want to prosecute. Obviously, we want to enforce our ordinances. Obviously, we want to enforce state laws. But at the point in time we have a 5-year-old case with $400 outstanding, and I have to do an hour and a half of due diligence to figure out where this person is before I'm even able to start typing up the letter or getting it sent to them or filing anything with the court, I need to look at whether or not I am benefiting the city, as this is the arrangement with the city. I mean, I think it would be different if I was like Lila or if I was like JR and I was an employee, but as I am not, I have that.
Some of those people have left town and
Oh, yeah.
left the county.
Right.
So
And
can you just drop a case? Can you just say, we're just done with this case, we're just going to close it, we're not going to pursue it anymore?
We can. Yeah, I mean, we can. I mean, I don't think we generally do. I guess I don't know. As we get into the summer and I have a little more time to look at this, I mean, I don't anticipate looking at this by the next municipal court or even, possibly May. I don't know, but I mean, look at it into the once I have a little more time, I would like to look at it and say, here is the status and present it to the council, and I guess I'd like to give you the status of the matters, which are public record, and to say, here's the status of the matters, here's what I think it's going to take to resolve them, here's what I think you're looking at for cost. And I mean, if there's one that's $2,000, obviously we might want to pursue that, but if there's one that's $85, I don't know that we want to pursue that. And I don't know what they are. I have them in my email. I could pull them up, but I mean, I don't want to take the council's time to do that tonight. I just, I want to let you know that we're looking into old cases, and I am proceeding with a idea in mind that I may not be pursuing them as aggressively due to a cost-benefit analysis. Now, and I'm assuming the council is okay with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody agree?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to say I'm not doing my job because it's going to cost too much money, but I mean,
You gotta weigh it out.
there's right. I mean, there comes a point where you have to determine whether you're throwing good money at bad. And
Gotta run it like a business, and if you're going backwards, you're not going the right direction, so.
Right. And so, I mean, we'll be taking a look, and there likely will be several cases that I'm following up on. Other than that, I don't have. Is there anything with the street project that you wanted to discuss that I need to be here for?
I don't think so.
Okay. Was there anything else that I needed to be
I
here
don't
for?
think so.
Okay.
One other thing while you're here, while we're on your report, I did send the email back to Sunflower.
Mhm.
They haven't responded. I think their response is to not respond, so we might want to put that on letterhead. I just want to mention that while you're here, because I'll
Okay.
talk to the council a bit more about it. We may come and make those as with the, on the letterhead and request an answer. Now that I've got it in writing, what I want them to consider and they're not responding, I think we need to give them a timeline to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
You
our
want
bill
me,
is
you
coming
want,
due.
you want me to put it on letterhead?
I believe so. I want you to be comfortable with it at a minimum,
Right.
with what I'm saying. But I mean, the bill is coming due, so we're either going to
When is the bill due?
What's that, 24th of this month, I think?
Okay.
So we either need to have a form of paying it under protest or have it resolved to what the answer is on it. I don't want to let it go, is my point.
Right.
So, but anyway, so I may be coming to you, as long as they're good with that, to either get,
It's due on the 24th, which is a Saturday?
yeah, I mean, this will need to go out within.
Yeah, we'd have to mail it by the 20.
Do we have an email? I mean,
We do,
could,
absolutely.
and we have a fax?
Yeah.
Send it via email, send it via fax, then send it via, send it to them they know what date is coming.
Right.
Yeah, because we don't want it to be late, because I'm sure that they will stick the late fee on there.
Well, I guess we can, if we don't get a response by then, we can say we're paying, we're paying this under protest. It's our opinion that you've violated the terms.
And I know we can pay it under protest, but we can't not pay it. And I
Right.
guess that's the point that I want to make clear to them is we're going to have this resolved, or we're going to pay it under protest that isn't going away. It's $27,000. Not going to just let it go. But anyway, I plan on making a phone call to them directly, to Corey Linville, the CEO, and if he'll talk to me, and I think he probably will. If we get a wishy-washy on it, then we'll go with the timeline of return of an answer for our demands, I guess you'd call it. So,
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know.
Based on that phone call.
Let me know. I will be out of my office at 3 p.m., 4 p.m. on February 5th, oh my God, I don't know what month it is. I am so sorry.
You're very sorry.
I will be leaving my office at 3:30 on the 15th of April, and I will not be returning until Monday morning. So if it needs to go out, it needs to go out Wednesday.
And if we don't need that, we can just pay it under protest.
Right. And if we're going to pay
It's
it
just making you aware.
if we're
going
to pay it under protest, we need to write, do we send a check or do we send a check? And when do we mail the check?
Well, I would say the latest we could mail it and ensure it gets there on time would probably be the 20th.
Okay. So, I guess if we're going to do that, then we need to, if we can get see what you come up with. If we need to pay it under protest, then perhaps what we do, if we don't get a response until 14th, 15th, then what we do maybe is I get with Lila, I write a letter and state this is being paid under protest, this is the city's position, it is the city's position, this is, you forced this, which is in violation of the contract, you need to deal with this, or you have, we will.
Sure.
However strongly we want to word it, I don't know, but
I just want to make you aware of it before you're out the door, because
yes,
if we need to go there.
I appreciate that. Do me a favor if you need to do that. If we need to do something, call my office. If we need to do something this week, or I guess
we would.
even next. Well, yeah. Or if we're going to do, if we're just going to send a letter that we're paying it under protest.
I think we're going to end up paying it under protest. With the short time, I'll have an answer tomorrow, or I will have a non-answer, but I think we'll probably plan on paying it under protest just because of the short timeline.
And even if it got there a little late, if it's postmarked before then, they can't assess late fees, can they?
Oh, yeah.
They
Yeah,
can't.
it's generally.
Yeah, you don't want to pay late fees on 284?
Yeah.
284,000. Yeah.
Yeah, no, let's not do that.
It's like $5,000 or $6,000. We don't want to pay the late fee. So anyway, that's all I had.
Okay.
Okay, do you hear a motion to accept and file the attorney report? Dara, and then Amanda, all in favor? Okay, old business, property cleanup.
Thank you.
No real updates other than the ongoing one with the Swigert, of course.
It's on continuance.
They have minor work to do yet. I do expect compliance there. I did send a letter on a property that's got, finally Scott brought it up to me the Monday after the Thursday that I sent it out. It has since been cleaned up significantly. I've met with them, expect no further action to be needed on that. Told them they're doing reconstruction, told them to keep it cleaned up. I much prefer to do that than going the legal route, because then there's the timeline, and I think that's going to work out on this one.
Up on
Gilbert.
Robertson, Ariel.
Gilbertson.
Ariel Gilbertson.
We did a lot of work in the house, and it was just scattered
Just
in the front.
thrown
And
all
it's kind of,
over.
it's on a side street, and it's kind of weird. I don't know if I just haven't been in there for some time or whatever.
Just
I went
threw
by
all over the yard everywhere. I mean, clear out on the sidewalk.
toys to construction debris to cabinets to just all kinds of stuff. Anyway, it was definitely in need of a letter. But we got a positive response on that. That's all I have on the property.
Okay, anybody else have anything on properties?
Any, have we got anywhere about enforcing some cleanup
On
on Quincy?
No.
Moving stuff off the streets?
I talked to Cody about it since then.
Oh,
Was it from the last meeting, Lauren was going to draft a
yeah,
letter?
Warren's going to draft a letter to send to him.
Okay.
And I have talked to Cody about it, that we're going to be specific about these are the violations, and if they're done again, then we'd have a fine. So I talked to him, but, obviously she's busy. I didn't think about it, but that is what we directed.
I noticed the other day a couple vehicles were gone, but I didn't.
How many came
They're
back?
probably back now.
Yeah.
5 more came in.
Yeah,
2 left.
that's right.
Keep mentioning it, of course. We need to
Yes.
try to get something done with it.
Yeah. Okay, project spending.
Is the use of the old pool property headed for the wayside? Are we just going to remove that thing and be done with it, or it's been a few years now? Do we need to just plan forward on getting it out of there?
Well, I think we're going to have to.
Rec Commission's had some discussion about trying to get some grant funds and doing something down there, but we
Would
haven't.
like to remove it, though, or no?
Oh, no, I mean, yeah, it would all have to come out.
And that's what I'm thinking. It's just stuck in the state it's in. Nobody could afford to do anything with it.
Even the building couldn't be renovated?
I think that maybe, but the plumbing, by the time you get tangled into that, I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know that it's worth it. All the plumbing is external. We could attempt to and see what we got, but I question whether it would be, by the time you fill all that back in, remove all the concrete, whether it's of any use. I don't know. I think that'd be part of, we can give it a try.
Why does the rec commission think it?
Well, they thought about if the ground was clear and everything, about going in and putting like a little park down there with moving sand volleyball, putting in walking trail, putting in horseshoes, just trying to clean it up, basically. And I think there'd be grant funds to do something like that, the demolitions, beside that. I don't know how you do that thing.
All I'm thinking about restrooms, but I don't.
But you are, I think you'd have a heck of a time
Yeah,
trying to keep them open.
right, just be our headache.
Mhm.
If you're trying to recreate and do something different,
Right.
you might save a tree or two, but even your grass is all going to be thrashed. It's a lot. I mean, I think we can draw a line between the scout hut and it and realize that this is going to be pretty much a loss to clean it up. I mean, it's just sitting there getting old. Anyway, I do think that, and I know the county at one time, we had some discussion with the county about removing it. I have no idea if that would still possibly be in play, but.
Well, why don't we check
What
in
type
with
of-
them and see?
What type of cost do you think is going to be incurred there?
As much as it took to get down the old,
Yeah.
which we got a good price on that, on the Empire Motel, but there's no way you get that
Right.
under $30,000.
Okay.
That's a lot of concrete. It's deep. It would need filled. But, we kept that mountain down there from the other pool to be able to do that. To me, I don't think we're going anywhere, but we're going to be having the same discussion in another 4 or 5 years. We don't just get it set in
Yeah,
place and get rid of
let's
it.
see what the county
If
can
the
do.
county's interested, great. If not, find some other means.
Yeah.
Might be a grant thing, I don't know, but start with the county.
Try the county before Dave's on.
That's
In December.
August.
No, August.
August
He told me December.
August
August
1st.
1st?
because
That's what he
ours
started.
was May.
Oh, he moved it up.
That's what he's shooting
He told me December. Okay, well, we'll get on it. Okay, street project, anything else? Nothing to,
Street project?
Yeah.
We're on project pending, huh?
oh, yeah, we are. But I was just moving
Oh.
Or do we,
I don't think we have anything.
does anybody have any more on project spending?
I apologize, I'm
Jared
running
wants to
behind.
be here till midnight, apparently.
I've been,
And then
What
there's
else you
the
want to do on
fireworks-
project spending?
nothing.
The fireworks ordinance review. I mean,
I'll
they'll
let
be
them-
doing fireworks before long, you
I think
Are we
ordinance
just leaving
is
it?
just fine the way it is.
know. Okay, I just saw it on there, so
I
that's
totally
why.
agree that it's fine where it's at. Lauren's the one that wants to change it. Has anybody else
We
had a
haven't had,
complaint?
we haven't had any issues that
I-
I've
Haven't heard anything. I don't remember this, I guess. Why
I
was
think
the
she got some
changed?
complaints about it being on a, like a work night or
Yeah.
something.
And it was after 10 o'clock.
Was it, yeah, because I think they can go to midnight on the 4th of July.
You're never going to stop it all.
You always gonna have somebody complaining.
Yeah. So I think we just leave it alone,
You want to take that off of the list? You just
as
want,
far as I'm concerned. I don't
Do
think
we
that,
need-
I don't think that's a big enough issue, because
It's the
have any of us heard that big of an issue on it?
No.
No.
Okay, take it
And
off.
It's the same one or two people complain.
Yeah.
Doing it real loud.
Yeah.
So we might as well take use of the pool off there too.
okay.
Yes?
Take
Yeah.
what?
Use of the pool and
Yeah.
the fireworks off there.
Yeah.
That list
Yeah.
gets long and you start trying to want to.
Okay.
Well, since that was, it's just a suggestion, but since that was on there per someone's request, perhaps a motion to not make any changes to the fireworks ordinance, so that it's official, and because they'll probably be brought up again if you don't
Long about
take
July.
action. Probably.
Okay.
I just,
Does anybody want to make a motion on the fireworks ordinance to leave it as is?
So moved.
Moved by Cale, second by Dara. All in favor? Approved.
Now we can finally move ahead to where you was trying to move ahead.
Okay.
The only thing on street projects is the July start date, which is what McCormick said. I'd ask him to confirm that with Miller and Associates. I don't know, it just seems to me like it's late. However, that's the way they've always done their street work. They move everybody in, but this large scale thing, I just thought it seemed late. Maybe it's not, but that's the tentative.
What about the contract issue that she's talking about?
It sounds to me like they just threw their boilerplate contract out there, and a bunch of pages were missing, just didn't get scanned.
But you've seen it.
Huh?
You've seen the contract?
No, I was going to
Oh.
review it, and I didn't. I forgot all about it. I think you gave me a hard copy, right? Because I was looking in my emails, like, why didn't I ever review that?
oh yeah, I gave you a hard copy,
That's
so you
what I
could
was-
take notes on it or whatever.
I appreciate that. I didn't look at it. But yeah, I'll confirm the
And
omission.
Chair, I know you've said this before, I'm spacing it out right now, but this first phase of 13 blocks we're talking about, they're talking starting in July, being done when?
It's just worked straight through till
Okay.
completion. I really
They don't have
don't
it.
know. I think that'll come from when he was talking to me about the proposed July date, I was concerned about the start date. I
Right.
didn't even ask him, but it will narrow it down to a finish date,
Okay.
weather permitting.
So along the lines of this, and I don't know why I just thought of this, but if we're going to apply for additional CDBG funds, we're going to have to do that LMI survey, and we're going to have to do that pretty quickly.
And we know that's the case because there's no reason we wouldn't. I mean, the entire projection is to complete this, and we want to apply as soon as we can. So yeah, we just need to do the LMI, don't we? Wow.
That is a extremely time-consuming process. I'll just let you guys know.
When's the deadline on applying for the next money?
I think it's not till November,
That's
yeah.
what I
So we've
thought.
got time for that, but that whole process for in here, it was very time-consuming the last time we did it. We had Scott and Lori came in and helped, and myself and Jen.
Yeah, you even went to some doors, didn't you? Had some people somehow.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and some other people went door to door to get responses. That was the biggest thing, is you've got to get the surveys out there, then you've got to wait for response, and then when you don't get response, then you have to follow up. we were close and we weren't making where we needed to be, and so we had to get out there and.
So was it
Here's
nailed out?
something that I want to throw out there
Initially,
in
yes.
reference to that on the street project, and I've said this from the beginning, and I think we might be overlooking it. When this is said and done, I want to talk to the contractor who has done all of our street work for a very long time, and say if we'd have done this under a specification in which we normally do, how much would this have cost us if you take the engineering and all these things out of it and just repair these things? And it might not be worth the money. It really might not. There's so many hands in the till. The street's so overbuilt to what it needs to be. We might be able to get as much work done to a different specification, which is what the rest of town is. I mean, they're going by a federal 8 inches of asphalt, normal is 4. I mean, it literally is double the material in a lot of places. And there's no standard that requires you to do anything in that way. That street will be here 3 generations later. You know what I'm saying? So that's that thing that I was talking about. So we could easily be in a hunt for the LMI, and let me chase that information just a little bit, because I'll guarantee Miller Associates going to say, no, that can't be right, and so is Northwest Kansas Planning and Development, because that's where they make their living. But we are talking about streets unless we're re-engineering. I really question this process. And I have from the beginning. 13 blocks, 1.16 million. 13 blocks? Yeah, that's almost $100,000 a block. Let me look into that a little bit, because that still seems to me like an analysis worth doing prior to going forward with more, because we're going to run out of money long before streets are done at that rate and just be making payments on the streets we did and have just our sales tax.
Okay.
And nothing over highway? No, we're going to the second meeting in April, so we have something.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, let's move on to the theater report. Anything on that?
I had foundation meeting same night, and I know Justin Brewer resigned, and Larry
Barnes.
Barnes.
So we will need, since he's a new member on the board, we would need the mayor to appoint him if you approve of him being on the board.
I haven't seen any minutes or anything from Robert.
I think that,
voted him in or-
well,
Did you go?
they can vote him in, but it's still a mayor-appointed thing, so, no, I
If
didn't.
he's wanting to be on it.
Who's also on theater one then?
So,
Robert, Brett,
and Marjorie,
Margie,
and, well,
Chris, Pat Chris.
right, Pat Kress, and now Larry Barnes.
Okay. I'll appoint Larry Barnes to be on there if he's wanting to be on there, if they've already talked to him. So, does everybody agree with it?
Need a motion to approve that?
So, moved by Carol, second by Amanda. All in favor? Okay. Okay, pool report.
Back to the theater report.
Ooh.
Okay.
We got the additional funding through the grant process. Sorry.
You're fine.
So we have our full amount on that. In relation to that, I've had already contacted the architect halfway, and they're hoping, they want to delay till May because they have scheduled projects before they start the design work to move forward. And the last thing I have on the theater is the mask thing for the workers there. I've checked in with the local health department, and they still advise we do that. However, I'm starting to wonder just how long we're going to do this and be the only entity doing that. We have plexiglass, we have the ability to keep public away from employee, which is the greatest issue. I really question whether we maintain this unless there is a significant change in the infection rate in the county. It just seems strange to require them. I mean, when are we ever going to quit?
Well, here's what I find puzzling about that. the patrons aren't required to wear masks.
Correct.
So you've got all these people coming in, and the only ones that are required to are workers. That doesn't make any sense.
And that is based on that recommendation. They don't require it, but they recommend it because it's a public gathering from a public entity. And it's like, I don't want to, I certainly don't want to expose people, but it seems to me like there's never going to be a point at which they're going to say it's okay not to have masks. They're going to recommend them indefinitely. And I think we need to look at that a little more different in common sense and say if we have an infection rate or something, maybe we revisit it. But I'm having a hard time keeping that up.
Who's requiring them? They wear them?
So Robert asked me, and I said I'm completely not comfortable with that because there was the requirement prior. Once they dropped that, I called the health department and asked, and she said they highly recommend to continue doing it because of the close quarters, inside building. But we're going to run into the pool, too. I mean, I know it's an outside venue, but you have the same issue with this small amount. I just think the city, it's no different than any other situation. Assess the risk and make a decision based on the input. They're still going to recommend we do it. But I don't really think there's any great exposure to the issue.
We haven't even talked about any requirements to wear masks at the pool.
And they shouldn't have to. And that's part of the reason that I'm motivated towards this. One, a lot of time has passed and the answer is still the same. And I'm not trying to put anything, I'm not trying to ignore them, but I don't think they'll ever not recommend that we have them in that given thing. They would recommend that we have them at the pool. I'd like to change that, I think. I am going to call Mila one more time, but I'm just going to let her know that we've decided, as long as that's okay here, not to require
And
the
that's up
masks.
to the individual working too.
What's that?
That's up to the individual working.
Of course, you can wear it. That's perfectly fine. But the gist is the requirement of it.
Right.
And I think that in telling the employees at the theater, if you can maintain your social distancing, and if we utilize the barriers from the public, not our own employees, we're not worried about them keeping apart from each other or the city employees keeping apart from each other. It's the social distancing. It's so weird, but
If we don't require them here, we don't, I mean,
the public gathering where people come to there, but then like me and Robert was talking, they have a choice not to go if they don't feel safe there. It's just, it's too ongoing, so.
does the library wear them?
No. So, is that okay with everybody? I want it to be a fixture of that. Thank you.
Definitely.
You will be their hero. Okay, sorry.
Do you hear a motion to accept and file the theater report?
I'll make a motion.
Moved by David, second by Cale, all in favor. Say pool report.
Okay, I'm just going to hand these out. This is just a quick summary of pool and Keller Pond stuff. Make sure I give everybody the right ones. Lila, do you want to copy these too?
Please.
And I'll just run through this as fast as I can, guys. Right now, I talked to JR a little bit. We're tentatively looking at open May 24th or 25th. JR thinks he can start a week and a half early and get the pool ready by then. Admission, just like last year, $2 18 and over, $1 under 18. We're looking at a family season pass of $200, individual pass of $50 for under 18, $75 for over 18. Aqua size and laps will be $50 pass or $2 per session. Private parties will be $150 for 2 hours. We made a point to make sure Margaret's the only one that's going to be signing up for swimming lessons, so we don't get any issues with them calling the city and with calling Kelly and with calling Margaret or whoever. One person for swimming lessons. Lifeguard training is right now set up for May 1st and 2nd in Colby. We expect the pool right now, we're basically looking at, it could be open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Monday through Friday. And you're basically talking laps in the morning and then swim team and then swim lessons and then swim team and then afternoon session, aquasizer laps in the evening and then an evening session. One big thing the pool board pushed for this year is making sure we've asked Kelly, and she's the one that actually brought it up. She will do the scheduling this year instead of having the volunteer sign up. So hopefully we don't get into issues where we're short-handed. Manager Kelly Milliken, assistant manager Carly Bandel, what the pool board voted on. voted on. We've interviewed 17 lifeguards, and at this point, it's going to sound like a lot, we will hire them if they pass certification. And part of that reason is because I think we have all the guards from last year coming back. Some of them are going to need recertification. Some of them, the new guards are all going to need new certifications. We've also got issues with kids' activities and stuff going on this summer. Kelly's pretty confident that she can balance the kids that are going to be gone. We've only got 6 guards that have actually applied for full-time. And I'm not going to go through all the names and everything, but I would like you guys to at least look at the names. If you're aware of any kind of issues or anything, let me know. We will have higher certification this year because we have more guards to get certified and a few to get recertified. And I've talked to Scott a little bit about that. What should happen next year, though, is that number will drop with some of we're hoping to bring a lot of these kids back. We're asking, and we were pretty adamant in our interviews about asking kids if they'd be willing to work through August. And we're not talking every day when school starts and everything, but we want to make sure we keep the pool open as late into August as we possibly can. 2-3 nights a week, weekends, and carry that through. We got a lot more positive response than we did last year on that. We are going to actually have the pool board have a training and orientation session with the guards, and it's going to be stuff like, here's what we need to do to clean the bathrooms. And this is some of the suggestions from the people on the pool board. How do we treat customers? Do we make sure we get up and address customers when they come in? We make sure that we've got 4 lifeguards out at any given time, and not just when we get more than 5 people. We had issues last year with there not being enough guards out for the number of people being in. We want to make sure that when the pool opens, the slide can be open. We want people to be able to use the entire facility whenever they get there. Kind of touched on the pool hours, 1 to 6 on Saturday, 1 to 9 on Sunday. Any questions? And do I need to address wages at some point?
At some point.
Okay. What I want to do, I want to see what happens on May 1st and 2nd, because for the most part, we think we've got really good kids. There's some excellent kids, and just tickled that all the guards are willing to come back. We've got a couple questions about a small number of guards, whether or not they'll be able to pass for certification. So that may drop our numbers. And Kelly's talked about part-time hours. We're not going to have 12 people working at one time. She's going to have to, and I think that'll help. I think just her doing scheduling. Any comments, concerns?
I think so.
I have a comment just from our auditors. We have, and I put it out on the share, we have procedures that have been in place for years for the theater and handling money.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, the auditors have never mentioned it, and we've never really thought about it, but they did mention it this year. We need to have one in place for the pool.
We'll use the same things theaters using.
Yeah, we'll have to, but we'll have to obviously make some changes to it. They're particularly concerned about the passes. They would like a written procedure that you guys are going to follow when issuing your passes, and how that's going to work, and then we'll put that in with the rest of the processes. But just something in place so that we don't have any issues with money not matching the deposits.
Okay. I do think that the passes are going to increase the money for the city. I think we'll get more volume. People may buy a $200 pass and may not. There's a lot of families won't do it. There's a lot of people that are just going to buy a pass just so.
Did your private parties increase last year?
Yes.
I think that'll happen again this year.
Well, we dropped the ball completely on that because we weren't expecting it from the previous year. We had 2 or 3. So I mean, we weren't prepared. And then we had a tremendous influx from out of town, which there's going to be more pools open this year. But I also think a lot of people who were coming to parties last year, they aren't going to argue about the price. That's one thing.
But people are so
2,
ready for
they like
normalcy.
our pool. So, I mean, we had a lot of people coming from Idalia, a few from Ray, and different places. So,
Is
We're
that
looking
family?
right now at a couple swim team events, actually hosting. Don't know dates or anything of those details yet.
Is that family pass for any size family?
Yes, at this stage. That's one thing we wanted to double check on, but we figured it would be easier just to say a family pass for whether it be 2, 4, 6. And then somebody brought up the fact, well, what if somebody's got 10 kids? And it's like, how do you juggle that?
They need help.
They got their own problems.
I'd say
They need
this,
help.
if somebody's got 10 kids, they are not going to be at the pool every day.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess. From past experience, what we've seen.
The greater issue is that it's actually just the family's pass
Immediate,
and not
and that will be,
extended or something like that.
and then we brought that up too, and that will be,
I'd
think
be
that'll be
more
handled.
concerned with that than an oversized family.
Yeah.
I think we can handle that. 'Cause, I mean, these kids know the kids here in town. I think we'll be okay. Questions, comments?
I just appreciate from my standpoint the improvement that was done last year over the previous year, and obviously you're building on that, so.
Well, I think
so
with,
much better.
and I didn't realize it, but Kelly was telling me that there are several of the lifeguards that know how to do the vacuuming out of the pool. Now, at this point, Kelly's the primary as far as maintenance and making sure it's backflushed and that kind of thing. Whether or not she ends up showing Carly that, I can't answer that.
I would hope she would delegate that just for the ease of.
We are also hoping that there'll be more delegation this year and things. Last year was such a crazy year. We're still going to have the cleaning procedures and make sure we're doing all that. But the important thing for us on the board was we want the proper number of lifeguards out there, whether there's 2 kids or 200 kids. We don't want there being one guard sitting in that chair over there and then 30 kids in this corner. We just can't have that. So, and I think we've addressed that. I think Margaret talked like there were going to be 2.
And you said we needed some equipment, some umbrellas or something?
Pretty sure she had said that we need new umbrellas for the tables, and I'll verify that.
Did they not get put away with that, or what?
Well, I think-
Let me back up. Did we have them really damaged, or?
I think there was a couple of times where they flew out,
Okay.
which I thought we had bought holders for those. I'll have to double check on that.
Find out what we need more.
I think getting Kelly to take over scheduling, you're gonna like that.
Well, and she admitted it. The thing that happened last year is with kids' schedules and all this being new and everything, we ran into a situation where if you want to sign up, sign up. Well, we had a day on July 4th where there was 4, maybe 5 guards total. It was one of the busiest days of the year.
Yeah.
I've got, Lauren's already volunteered to sponsor opening day. I'm sure Recognition will come in and sponsor some opening days. I think Alumni has asked that the city take care of the expenses for alumni,
We
which
can't
we've
do
done in
that.
the past.
Yeah, and we talked to the auditors about that, and they said, we can do that, but it has to be a motion by the council.
Yeah.
Any free days,
And we've always done that, motion by the council, haven't we?
no, there was a free day last year that they just did on Father's Day.
That the pool did?
Mhm. All fathers got in free on Father's Day last
Okay.
year. So anyway, that
And I
was
get
one of
that.
the,
It needs to come through the council.
yes.
Does anybody have any objections to alumni? I don't think our number's going to be.
No, we've done it in the past.
We need a motion
I'll
for
make a
that.
motion to make alumni free.
I'll second.
Been moved by Cale, second by David, all in favor? Approved.
That's the 19th?
Third Saturday in
18th.
June.
18th, 19th, yeah.
19th.
And it also promotes our community.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Good job.
Independence Day.
Well, I'm not going to say anything. No, I'm not going to say anything yet until I make sure what Lila was talking about, that it doesn't get, the decision doesn't get made by the pool and not by the pool board and the council.
Right.
Because I'll bet we overlooked that last year. 'Cause I kind of remember it, but I don't remember how it got approved. And I'll bet it come from the pool employees,
Oh,
because I don't remember talking about it. But I'll make sure that is clearly.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the pool report?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Amanda, second by Dara, all in favor? Approved. Okay. Keller Pond.
Met with Cody Crine, Dave Fleming, and Tom Keller here about a week ago. The major priority that we've got right now is we've got to find out what we're going to do about if we're going to do the contract labor out there. My understanding, and I know Scott and JR met with Tom too, but my understanding is Tom's willing to put up, whether it be Keller family or however he's doing it, $5,000 to $6,000 a year. He realizes that the city needs some help with the funding on this. Basically what he's looking at is maintaining the trees, making sure they get watered, doing some weed trimming around there, general cleanup. JR has said that the city will take care of treating the pond, controlling the weeds, and the mowing that we've done in the past. Is that correct? Okay. JR's brought up some concerns. We've had at least 3 names thrown out there now, but from a city standpoint and a liability standpoint, this gets a little touchy because we've got a couple of people that might be interested in doing it, but they're not, if they're being paid through the city, they're not going to have liability insurance. And I don't totally understand that when it's contract labor, other than a
Because they're a
contractor.
contractor.
Yeah.
To be contract labor, you are a contractor, and you have to have liability insurance by your own ordinance. And if we hire the right person for part-time, it'll probably work. I just didn't want to do it that way because I just wanted it to be very specific to that instead of an hourly wage supervisor. I just wanted the work to be explained as done, independent, individual contractor, essentially.
One of my concerns is whether or not we can find an individual like that. There are people out there that are very interested in the pond area and wanting to take care of stuff, and I would assume that maybe there's some older individuals that this might be a good part-time job for them or something. I said older.
I know, that's right.
Jared and I talked a little bit about this too. If we can't come up with something right away, it's going to fall back on the city. Jared's purchased some trees. Tom's concerned about making sure the trees get installed properly, get staked, get watered. We've got some water line issues out there. It's going to be a juggling game, I think, isn't it?
I don't think contract labor is going to work out. I don't think there's anybody that has liability insurance that doesn't need to be off doing other things other than watering trees and weed eating and picking up around the pond. I think we're stuck with an interview process whereby which we would utilize a Keller Pond board member or 2 and myself and hire it done. I don't know. I mean, it's an employee, so it doesn't work to either make them, get them to do the work or you let them go. I guess the bottom line is I think that's what we're stuck with.
And it would be something you're overseeing.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was wanting to avoid. I wanted it to be contract labor where there was an expectation of the work that would be reviewed by the board and then decide whether the person is recontracted for it. That's what I hoped we could come up with, but I don't think we're going to fit it. I think we need to move on probably with a reasonable wage for the amount of work, allow city equipment to be used and be a part-time limited hour to keep away from benefits. I don't think it's something we want to get tangled into benefits on. But with the Kellers talking about putting up money, I think we're just talking about putting an ad out, interviewing for the maintenance of that, and coming up with the description of exactly what we're looking for.
And I think most of your time is going to be March through October or something as an example, but you're still going to need somebody to go out there and clean up walk around, pick things up, and maybe do some little watering over the winter and stuff. Tom's major concern has been trees for several years.
And I think if we would do that in a fashion where there's 10 hours a week for 6 months of the year and 20 hours a week, I don't quite know how to cut it apart. That's why I wanted to contract it and just come up with a figure. But I'll see what we can do with coming up, fitting with the money, because even though they won't be full-time, we'll have to pay in.
Would someone that does landscaping,
What's that?
would someone that does landscaping qualify for something like this?
If they have like their own insurance.
Yeah.
And if they have the time to do it.
And what kind of equipment are they going to need? Could they use?
Not much. I mean, it kind of depends on what the actual requirement is. I mean, watering of trees and weed eating, and it would be minimal.
But I'm reading stuff on here, would they be in charge of like, North Bank,
make more
pumps
money
cleaning
landscaping
in?
than
Those are
Might
problems
going
that
out
need to
there.
either be done by county, city, or
Okay.
cooperation.
Okay.
Maintenance
Just
issues,
it's
one
not
time,
like
one shot.
I think it's got to be somebody that's
Really, this
Yeah.
person would hopefully
retired,
be,
just want a little extra.
where we
income,
failed was
something to do.
mowing, upkeep, and watering of the trees, be it winter and summer, because they require water in that sandy soil year-round, depending on weather, of course. I don't know, it could be a pretty busy job at certain times and not so much the other. I think, I don't know how to come up with a description. I'm still struggling with that.
Even if you're talking, let's just say you're talking 20 hours a month. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, 20 hours a month. Even if you're talking 4 or 5 hours a week, and for somebody to go out there and water and just walk around, pick up and stuff, I don't think that's out of line.
I think on small trees, though, you're going to need somebody out there 3 times a week.
Well, you might.
You know,
yeah.
about 4 hours, 3 times a week, watering.
Yeah.
Especially with these new trees this summer, until they start getting established, then you can back off a little bit. But when you're first going, because like you said, that soil is so sandy that I think somebody almost needs to be there Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, whatever they want to start
They
with.
order trees?
I already have them, actually.
Oh.
Yes.
You bought some bigger ones this year, didn't you?
Yes. Yep.
And then some evergreens to go back on that.
8 of the missing evergreens, of course, we have to fix the sprinkler system. I'm not putting them out there until we have a plan. I'll water them a year before I'll go put them in and do what happened the last time. But I wanted to get them to force ourselves to get this thing moving. It's once Tom came up with money, that's really the trigger to.
So you want to, is everybody okay with like putting an ad together and getting it out there?
How's that going to work if Colors are willing to pay for the person that's going to be a city employee?
They will just have to contribute to the city, and we'll run through payroll as a part-time employee, offsetting costs. What I won't get into is utilizing current personnel to utilize that money. I need a specific person, and if it just needs to be a specific thing. Just to that. So, we can put an ad together, get some interviews, put up a 2-week time frame in the paper. Does that even work anymore? Where do you, Facebook?
I mean,
How
we
do
can
you do
put
it?
it on our Facebook page. There's that job thing that Karen Nauer has on Facebook, Cheyenne
There's
County
another
job
down
listings.
at CCDC, has
Yeah.
job listings on there too.
Yeah, that would probably make more sense in the paper,
Yeah.
What's
in
the time
addition to
period
maybe.
What's that?
that they would work for? The whole year?
Yes.
Or-
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
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 This would be your winter hours would be less.
Yeah, winter hours, you'd probably go out there just maybe 1 day a week, just to pick up some tree limbs and water if it needs water.
Two other priorities that we're working on are, we need a fence on the east side, and we were actually going to go down there tomorrow night, but we can't, we couldn't get everybody together. Did you meet with,
Dave and Tom were down there this afternoon.
so you have an idea of what,
East
that you have an idea of how they want it laid out?
Mhm.
Okay.
And they have the materials. haven't
Yes.
they?
Yeah, we
it's
come up
pretty
with
good.
posts, and we need to fence off the east side of the river, or of the river walk, so that people can't just drive in there. Or we're also gonna have to have gate in there somewhere. So for maintenance access.
That's what we was talking about. Yeah, something we could lock up. Yep, running all the way across.
We also need to put a fence at the main gate where the construction entrance was, so that people, it's just basically from a fence to a fence, which that's minor. talked about the water drip lines. The north bank is caving in. We're going to need to go in and put in something like crushed concrete, or your thoughts on that?
I've looked at it this year, and the big major plans.
And one of the issues, the reason that's caving in, and JR can account for this too, is that water gets pulled out of this pond every year to irrigate. And it sounds like it's going to be for maybe a different crop this year, which also contributes to some of our water issues that we've fought in the past. And these guys got it knocked down very well last year. So maybe we won't fight that as bad. Hard to say.
Yeah. They're watching. They're really.
Cody Crimes mentioned maybe trying to coordinate a volunteer cleanup day. Some of the projects that Tom has mentioned and have been discussed in the past is he wants, if you guys are familiar with that, there's two big poles when you walk in. At some point, he wants to he says the city has said that they will put gates up. I don't know. I need to go back and read the lease, and everything was tied into it. And then he also wants a sign up top that says Keller Pond River Walk or something. Part of our concern, I think Scott and Jared and I are on the same page, is that the city's leasing this. So why shouldn't we have some input on the sign as well? Like leased by the city of St. Francis or something. That's a project, I guess. We talked to Dave a little more about Second Bridge coming back over the river. I don't know. We don't have the proper boards at this point. Dave's getting ready to retire. I think Dave would come back and possibly Doug Barnhart might come back if it could be done. One thing Tom's really pushing for is to try to get the river walk closer to town, coming through the Equities property. That's a whole nother game. Possibly even putting a different drive-in so you didn't come up to the river walk and then drop down like that. Maybe making it more level to get out from starting around the railroad tracks or something, but that's something we have to get the equity involved too. We're looking at maybe a few more picnic tables out there, and somebody mentioned maybe a couple benches by the Riverwalk Trail, and possibly have Martin Hill doing those again. And then Tom has brought up again, he's convinced that Brock was supposed to put a culvert in under the walking trail, be on the southwest side of the pond for runoff to drain back into the pond. And it's my recollection that that was never on Brock's agenda.
We're going to have to pay, if that needs to be done, it needs to be out of the Keller Pond budget, and we pay him to do it. It was not part of his original.
Or discussed again with Tom as far as grant funds.
Naturally, but yeah, that is not part of it.
I think a lot of these things that Tom's talking about, and there's been a tremendous amount of grant money going into this project and stuff, and I think it's going to take more grant money to continue to improve it. I do think it's a real positive benefit for the community, but my other side of that is I don't want it, and please don't take this the wrong way, but it cannot be controlled by one individual. The city has to have their input on it. We have to make good financial decisions. And we've got to be realistic about it too. There's a lot of other things that are, in my opinion, as important, if not more important. Streets, as an example. I'm not saying that we don't want to take care of it and maintain it. I do think that's a priority right now, is just maintaining it.
And I know we're getting long in the tooth, but my daughter-in-law wanted me to ask about this, because she went somewhere, I don't know which one. They had a walking path around a pond, kind of like what we have, and they had it lit up at night. And she was asking, is that even feasible? Is that even realistic to think about doing it?
That had been brought up a couple of times. Somebody had even mentioned like putting up some landscape lights, just those solar lights, which I think could probably be done. You'd need to stake them in with some pipe or something to do it. But,
and I've talked to Stanion about the solar pedestrian lights that actually go up above the trail. It's a matter of getting the maintenance thing figured out, I think, before we go further. But that's been talked about extensively, getting light on the east side and on the other side around the trail.
that's all I've really got, guys. Any other questions?
In reference to the Keller contract. It's a 25-year contract. It was signed a little bit in a strange fashion. However, there is a clause in there for a 10-year termination. If there's anything about that, which there was things in there I didn't like. I didn't like from the time it was signed. There is a 10-year provision. That's a year and a half off. Just something to keep in mind. I mean, it's such a good project. I don't want to terminate. Don't at all think that. I mean, I just know that contract.
But there was some things that I was kind of shocked to saw that.
Exactly.
Well,
We never saw that. We don't even remember.
one issue we hit last year was we had a tree fall on the fence, and there's a section of fence there now that I'm being told needs to be replaced by the city. I haven't actually gone out there and looked at it. He said it was taken down during construction. I'm not aware of that. I don't remember seeing any missing fences, electric fence in there now, supposedly. We had a tree fall from Keller's side onto the fence, and the city was expected to clean it up. Dave Fleming even said that's not the way it works. But Tom was adamant that it was in the lease, that it had to be done. Somebody else ended up doing it. Those are the things we've kind of got to balance a little bit.
Tom's standpoint is he wants to make it the best it can be at any cost. We just have to be realistic about it. And that contract, like I said, had been pointed out a few too many times to the point where you get a little resisted. So it's something we can look at the very minimum, anytime after a year and a half from now.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to potentially look at.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, do I hear a motion to accept and file the Keller Pond report? Moved by Dare, second by Kale, all in favor. David? Approved. Building permits, several of them.
Nothing remarkable about any of them. They're all within the confines of proper code.
What's on this one, this list, hey, so it says waive the $75 fee.
So that's,
That's not building permit.
Oh.
it's getting late.
It is getting
Yes. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the building permits? Moved by David, second by Amanda, all in favor? Approved. Superintendent report.
I'll try to get through this fast. I'm going to be getting a quote from HOA. It's a contractor who does water control systems. Ours is 20 years old. I've complained about it for the last 15. It failed us again over the weekend, and we overpumped a well into the reservoir, had 2 feet of water in the pump house up there. We had to push the door shut to get the door open. Anyway, water system's failing. This HOA has worked with Miller Associates, and they also know a couple other people who do water systems that they would recommend. It's a good thing, because there's so many people doing these SCADA systems. But he did say they was a good one, so I'll be working on getting prices. That was the thing I was started on before COVID hit, and I was going to go look at these actual operating systems. Knowing Miller and Associates will give us an assistance on that, I think I can avoid all that and move forward with a recommendation that they might make.
Can I say something on that,
Yes.
JR? This American Rescue Plan, one of the things that they talked about was water and sewer infrastructure. So it is very possible that this could qualify for that.
Absolutely. This is going to be a $60,000 to $90,000 expense, so it's not a small thing. And that's application.
No, that's the money that we're
That's
just going to
for
get.
sure going to be coming.
But we don't know how
It
much.
has to be utilized for those kind of things.
Has to be, well, and so I'm speculating that it could be used for that. They have said it could be used for infrastructure, water and sewer. But it's still very vague, but
And do we have a dollar figure on that?
not yet.
Had several people ask if it rained over the weekend.
Yes. Anyway, at the recycle center, the trash truck is not ready to go yet. We're still going to be in that transition as soon as we have equipment. One thing is, been thinking about doing is trying to find part-time to work the recycle. It is just overrunning us on our on-time people over the weekend. We're working 4 to 6 hours a day on Saturday and Sunday just to try to keep it from being a bomb on Monday, which it usually still is anyway, where just one person can't and the on-call. So we know we have room in our budget for hiring people because we're how many short, but I'm going to start looking at weekend help up there, I think.
Well, along with that, is that something that could be tied into the
Yes, and I've been thinking about that and, not wanting to do the crossover, but yes, it is definitely something that can work in if the person be willing to work weekends and get the stuff down there. So yes, quite possible.
Speaking of the recycling center, can I ask you a stupid question that I probably should know the answer to already by now? When Jackie and I went there this last weekend taking out recycling, a gentleman drove up in a pickup truck and he started shoveling gravel into the back of his truck, those gravel stacks. Are people able to just come get gravel? I didn't think so. I wanted to go talk to him, but I thought I better.
He wasn't the only one.
Okay.
There was another one turned in. I don't know. It's almost like we need to fence it in. It used to be pretty well understood, but yeah, no, we've had trouble with that.
Okay.
Especially over this last weekend.
Yeah.
But no.
I should have talked to him, but I didn't. So.
Yeah.
I do it at 2 in the morning.
Yeah, get yours before he turns.
This was in the afternoon. This was probably 2 in the afternoon. It's pretty bold.
It's crazy what people are doing. And
It's a compost pile though, up there too. isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not far from the.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you can jump off your compost and pick up some gravel and head to
Yeah,
the house,
yeah.
or asphalt, or, yeah, no.
Yeah,
I need
that
a
is-
little bit, I need a little bit in
Compost
my alley,
everything.
and, they just think they can just pick it up and go.
Yeah. Anyway, no, not okay. Rare occasion I've given permission, but no, it's just not something we do. On Keller's Pond, the signs that were vandalized, I think 2 days after we put them up. I sent that picture out. Anyway, got them early enough, we was able to get them washed off. Hasn't happened again, had a police report made out on it. That was changed to snobs must be on a leash at all time or some quirky crap. I'm sure it was one of the people
ever
that
seen it?
likes to go down there and turn their dogs loose. Not the place to do that.
But even as an adult or a kid?
I talked about sunflower leather. Yeah. Justin Gardner has 17 hours vacation time, would like to carry over. Everybody agree?
I think it's just 9, actually.
Oh, he wrote down 17 for me. Okay, whatever it is, carry over his vacation time, it's below the 40 that we allow. The theater, I think, did I say that he going to delay till May? Did I mention that? Okay. I don't even remember what I said now. The boiler, we have the go-ahead, the stuff, I have to give that to Lila to get scanned and sent. But it's 3 to 4 weeks to deliver. It would be June or July would be the contract time for that, so it would be done long before fall, winter, which is when it's far more important.
That was our worry. It's not
so
waiting too late.
Our timeline is short. They have some work to do in Goodland as well, so they would time it together with that. Sergeant Drilling is going to be testing our wells again. We do have a couple that the efficiency is down on. We're also going to have the booster pumps at the reservoir tested to test the reservoir up by the airport. Ward we're waiting to get the schedule, Ward Electric, we're waiting to get the schedule figured out on that so it doesn't collide with the streets. With me thinking July seems late, I'm going to wait till we get the time frame of the street work and try to put them either before or after that work so we're not tangled up with 2 at one time. The last thing I have is we're still on the subject of the equipment that we need. Now, I know the big electric bill, which isn't going to go away even if we get what we should get from Sunflower, but we still have our equipment shortages as far as age, the boom truck and the bucket truck, and I've got to go see those to be able to do that, and so there might be some significant travel to look at them. The authorization may come up kind of short on making a rather large purchase if it's in the right place. That would require, obviously, a special meeting or securing money to, make sure we could get it in. I'm not sure. I refuse to buy new in that realm. I mean, it's literally 30+% over slightly used. So, I mean, I do some travel on that, and that is significant money to be spent. I would say, you know, 50 to 80,000 on both of those would probably be the budget that we're looking at on money. So, and we do have equipment reserve money. You know, we're going to be another $1,000 short after paying a bill. So, that is all I have.
And I mentioned to JR, maybe somebody else saw the post, just, I don't know, around 5 o'clock today. Brent Reeves the one who posted it, about whoever went up there to dump at the compost pile, there's a bunch of stuff. And he just said, you know, commented how idiot people were and this and that, and then also about the recycling center, how it's been and stuff. And so he posted there should be cameras up there, and then all of a sudden other people started saying, yes, there should be cameras.
Scan that email to me, I'd appreciate it.
So I guess I would post back and say, well, we're in the process of it. But anyway, other people think we need to have cameras up there too.
Which I really like hearing that, because that was always a concern. There's so many, such a large percentage of people are honest, and it's a weird feeling to have cameras. We're way beyond being sensitive that we need them to provide that.
Yeah, we need them.
And Jason Padgett, who's actually done a lot of those, I don't know if I mentioned at the last meeting, but I'm going to work with him on getting a system that'll work remotely a little better than the ones that we've used at the plant. Some of those are just, we end up replacing the DVRs and stuff in them. So as soon as he's available, we're going to get that figured out, and we're going to surveil the whole area. This gravel thing, the asphalt, the trash be it the compost or inside that, we just need to surveil the whole area, if not part of the upper roadside park. That's just the world we live in now.
Yeah, he said on that post too that if they're caught, they should be fined.
I agree.
So,
yeah, absolutely. It's the only way you'll stop it. I mean, it's only gotten more so, whether it be trashiness or taking the product that's the citizen's product. So, yep.
hey, do I hear a motion to accept and file the superintendent report?
So moved.
Moved by Larry, second by Cale, all in favor? Approved. I'll skip the attorney report. Let's
I
go
thought
to
maybe
clerk
you wanted to hear
report.
her again. Let's see. This is just some information. I'll be quick. In case you didn't know, the tax lid that we always had to deal with when we were doing our budgets has been repealed. There is now what they're calling a tax neutral rate. And so if during your budget, if you go over that tax neutral rate, you have to notify people. The process, I'm not real clear on what the process is at this point. It sounds like it's sending out letters to everybody. But I don't think we're going to have to worry about it because we've been very good the last few years being able to stay below the tax lid anyway. So I don't think it's going to be a concern for us. But it's a good thing that the tax lid has been removed. So that does give us a little more leeway. But I do have a budget workshop on May 19th, so I will get more information about this new process and how that'll work. On the American Rescue Plan, I have a municipal webinar this coming Friday morning, and I'm sure that they will talk about that, and I hope to get more details on how we can use that money and how it's going to affect our budget and all of that information. The Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, I put some information out there on the share, and I don't want to take a lot of time on this, but you can take a look at it. The application's open. We're supposed to open on April 8th, but they're having technical difficulties with the portal. So whenever it gets resolved, the earliest that we would be able to apply for these grant fundings would be 28 days after that. There's some criteria that I put on the paper that kind of explains what we would qualify for and when we would qualify for it. And basically the bottom line is the amount of money that we could potentially apply for is $31,171.73. I will say that I went to the webinar, and since these are federal funds, this was grant administration will be time-consuming because there's a lot of reports and stuff and things that I'll have to do, but it could potentially be worth it, $31,000, so that's for you guys to think about, and let me know maybe at the next meeting if you want me to pursue it, because I'll need to get started on it right away. Oh, and part of the list there down at the bottom are all of the eligible entities that can apply. It's possible they'll run out of money before it gets to the 28 days. It's hard to say. Let's see. I did speak to Bob Ogden after the last meeting, and he, at this point in time, they're still considering how they're going to do the Veterans Memorial. They haven't decided yet, and so for right now, they have decided not to ask the city to apply for grant funds, and they will let us know what they decide. Do you have any more on that, Scott?
Yeah, they started to back off of the granite, and I don't know why, but so I wish they'd still go after the granite, because I think that'd look better and be better for everybody, because if they get that thing built, the vinyl lettering that'll be on that stuff will last 7 to 10 years, and then you got to have. So I don't know. I wish they'd go after the granite, because I really think the Hanson would really help them out on that.
All right. So let him know and let me know if he wants back to me.
I still think they should push for the granite.
Let's see. City Council, 3 of you are up for, well, if you run again, your seats are up for election. Larry, Dara, and Kale in the fall. Deadline to register to be on the ballot is June. So I'm sure there will be things in the newspaper to let others know. But just wanted to remind you guys. And then this time of year, April, is when we generally do our salary reviews for the employees, if the council wants us to do that. Jared and I can take a look and bring stuff back to the next meeting.
Yeah, well.
Okay. I think that's all I have.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the clerk report? Moved by Cale, second by David. All in favor? Approved. Okay, council comments. David.
I know I missed our last meeting, and I apologize, but I may have to miss our next meeting. My dad is dying, and so his health is just going down, so I'm going to go down. I just don't know how long I'll be there, so
Sorry.
so I may miss the next meeting. I don't know.
You got to miss from, yeah, family comes first. Cale.
I got a long list here.
Amanda, Sarah, Larry.
Only thing I've got, I think you guys are working on is potholes.
Yeah.
So,
That guy surprised me tonight.
Who is that? I didn't know who that was.
Sally.
Patty Wick.
Patty Wick?
Or Sally.
Sally Wick? I was going to ask
Sally.
you guys.
Yeah, Sally Wick.
I have any idea.
I think I said Patty Wick when I entered.
Yeah.
She was throwing me when she kept saying commissioners. That's why I said, I knew she meant us, but. Okay, well, let's review the bills so we can get out of here. Everybody had a chance to look at them already.
I thought on there, are you still paying for Zoom meetings?
I need to cancel that.
I thought we had talked about that, and then I thought,
Yeah.
it's not on there, so.
You guys don't think you need to carry on with the Zoom meetings, do you?
Not a,
Yeah, I forgot.
I missed a thing on the theater. I apologize. They had a fail on the sound system. I think we blew up the horns on the outside. There's a controller, and I've been on with the tech that has done the work there. It's got an automatic volume control that's done by the computer, and they thought it was too loud, so they turned it down, and the computer overran, and it went all the way up. And so it took out a couple of the big horns. They shouldn't be of great expense, and I think there might be a hum in one amplifier, but I'll be checking that tomorrow. I knew I wasn't going to have it. It is functioning. It's just like the dialogue is just a little bit low, so I'll be getting that figured out and fixed.
Okay, any questions on the bills? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the bills on ordinance 1049?
So moved.
Moved by Amanda, second by Cale. All in favor? Bills approved. Hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I think Kara was first, then Larry or Amanda. Larry?